Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
That kid is back on the escalator again.
Ain't gonna hurt.
Here's my boomstick!
Game over, man. It's game over.
Welcome to the Bargain Bin. He is your host, Ben Mason.
And he is your co-host, Sandra Luketic. And today we're talking 1994's Airheads. We assume if you're listening to this episode, you've already seen the movie. And man, have I seen this movie.
What does that mean?
Too many times.
What's too many for you?
I watched it maybe 4 or 5 times a year for the first 10 years it was released. And then twice in the last week.
That's a lot.
It is a lot.
When I think of a lot for you, I imagine, 20 times. That's... Oof.
Yeah. I don't know what movie I've seen the most. It might be Biodome. But it could also be Scream.
See, I see a movie 4 times, and I'm like, that is so many times. What am I going to do with myself? Jeez.
Nah, man. Growing up in a rural community with a convenience store at the end of your road, like the only convenience store for miles and miles around that had like the worst selection of old VHS, I just watched as many as I could.
So you're saying that you watched bad movies?
You've seen what I've picked for almost the last year of this show, right?
Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
Well, I mean, I can't imagine that this is one that you watched that frequently if you thought it was bad.
One of the movies I've seen the most is Biodome.
You've openly admitted that you love Biodome.
Yes, but it is almost widely considered one of the worst films ever made.
Doesn't matter if it's widely considered. Do you like it or not?
Oh, so now my opinion matters to you. That's interesting.
When did it not?
I don't know. Pick a random episode.
Dude, if you do that research, you're going to be very disappointed.
Yeah, you're right. I second-guessed myself as soon as those words left my mouth. It's like, shit, you did it again, Mason.
All right, well, let's just sweep that under the rug and dive into the movie. That way we can move on from your embarrassment.
All right. I do have to start with the opening credits of this movie.
Aye.
It, oddly enough, felt very much like Biodome. It's the rock music playing over stop motion, like magazine. I don't know what it is. I almost wanted to say claymation, but it's not. It's stop motion animation of peeling different magazine clippings over a black screen, put the cast names up, director, yada yada yada, and it plays for a good chunk of the song until we get to our first introduction. The radio DJ Ian the Shark, played by Joe Mantegna, doing what he does best at KPPX Rebel Radio, talking shit and playing rock.
So do you just know the script?
What do you mean?
That's so detailed.
What, the description of the credits, or going into Ian?
All of it.
Oh yeah, man. I numerous times I have been confronted with positions working as a DJ or a news anchor on radio. So.
Oh, all right then.
I'm a natural.
I don't know.
Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, okay.
Our lead protagonist, Chaz Duffy, played by Brendan Fraser, parks his motorcycle outside. Motorcycle? Mm-hmm. Motorcycle outside of. That's the title of my next movie.
You are having such a great start to this episode. We're totally keeping it.
Outside of Palatine Records head office, dons a delivery guy outfit and barely manages to sneak his way inside. The problem I have with that is they recognize him immediately and still aren't prepared to deal with him. He's done this numerous times, we find out, and they're still not prepared for him.
They're ill-prepared for just somebody walking in, let alone somebody that they already have seen do this multiple times.
Yeah, they even go on the phone later and they're like, he's back again. They don't say who, just he. So you'd think they would like hire an extra security guard, like look out for this rocker-looking guy, but no.
I mean, I don't know if you have this in your notes because I don't know how detailed you went, but at one point he evades them by just sidestepping into another room.
Yep.
It's like, really? Like, you might as well you just might as well be playing the Benny Hill song right now, people.
It is definitely a Benny Hill sight gag moment.
Yep.
But he easily tracks down record producer Jimmy Wing, played by Judd Nelson. Not sure why they got Judd Nelson. He has the look, but not the chops, I think, which I know is going to anger anybody who's a fan of The Breakfast Club.
I don't like the look for him in this.
He looks like a skeezy record producer.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess if that's what they're going for, great, but I want to see Judd Nelson as one of the rockers.
Dude, just look up pictures of Judd Nelson in his everyday life. He looks much better here.
Oh, okay then.
Yeah. But he fails at getting Jimmy Wing to take a copy of Chaz's band's new demo. I say new demo, definitely old demo. And this is where it gets off to a jumpy start for me, having done entertainment law. Wing is 100% in the right at refusing to take the demo. It's exactly how he should act. The lawsuit that could potentially be brought against him and the company would be worth millions. And that's the same thing with film scripts. Like, that's why you never just mail a script to anybody or hand a script to anybody, because if they read it and then somehow like a little bit of the story stays with them, they don't know where they came up with it, they think maybe it's their own idea, and put it in another movie, they can be sued for theft of that intellectual property.
Was anybody complaining that Judd Nelson was in the wrong?
No, but he comes across as a complete asshole.
Well, I mean,
this is business 101. Don't do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, he is being confronted by a guy who broke in. So how nice are we expecting him to be?
It's a good point. But like I said, having not gone through that degree, I just thought he was being an asshole, but he's just protecting his business and himself.
Makes sense.
Well done, Judd. Chaz spends the rest of his afternoon watching music videos on the couch. His girlfriend Kayla, played by Amy Locane, comes home, and here we discover what a loser Chaz actually is. He didn't mail the rent check because he didn't have a stamp and never thought to go get one. He knocked all of Kayla's makeup into the toilet and then blames her for where she left it, and then lies to her saying he had a meeting with a record executive, a record producer. But the truth eventually comes out, and Kayla, upset about being the only one with an actual job, understandably kicks him out of the apartment. And then he fucks up again by saying that he wrote that song for her, but is reminded that he wrote it before they even met. Great way to set up the character. Also, it kind of makes Kayla look like a sympathetic character until she starts throwing all the shit off the balcony, which I thought was a bit much, but it's a comedy. I get it. I almost felt like they just threw that character away from the very beginning.
I don't know. I didn't think Kayla came off in the greatest light here either. Simply just because of how quickly she jumped back into the positives when she thought, oh, he had a meeting with a record executive?
Oh, yeah. It totally changes her attitude.
Yeah.
I just accepted that as a young woman struggling in LA, trying to make ends meet when her rocker boyfriend isn't doing anything. And then finally she gets that idea that, holy shit, maybe all of the hard work I've put into my life and this relationship is paying off because he's actually done something. But then he was lying the whole time.
She should pay attention. Brendan Fraser is in the movies.
I mean, it really is hard to dislike Brendan Fraser.
He's charming. There's no other way around it. He is absolutely a bum, but he is charming.
Yeah, he's great. I don't know if I've disliked any movie he's been in. There have been some tough watches, but that's not because of him.
You know, the other thing in this introduction to Kayla is I thought to myself, wow, it looks like they just couldn't cast Christina Applegate.
Oh, yeah, I totally got that too.
And then I looked in the IMDb trivia, and it said that this part was written with Christina Applegate in mind.
Yeah, but I don't know where I know Amy from, but I feel like it was 90210 or Melrose Place or something like that.
Whoa. You don't know where somebody... Wow.
It was one of the two shows. That's pretty good.
I mean, it's just still a big moment.
Okay, I was 12
Okay.
when this movie came out.
Uh-huh.
I recognized her then. I didn't know where from.
Oh, so you're not saying right now you didn't recognize her. You meant back then.
Yeah. Well, I still don't think I've seen her in anything after this, but whatever.
Okay, all right.
Chaz meets up with fellow band member Rex, played by Steve Buscemi, who's just finishing his shift at the toy store. And he's full rocker gear, full metal gear, just putting away toys, climbing the ladders.
How did this dude get a job at a toy store?
I have no idea.
Not the look that you want to see. You know, I don't want to be like discriminative or anything, but like if that guy walked into an interview for my toy store, I'd be like, thank you for your time. We'll get back to you, and not get back to him.
And what parent is going to approach him?
Yeah, can you recommend a toy for my 6-year-old girl?
Yeah, we're looking for the newest Barbie. He'd just stare at it with those, like, chihuahua eyes and just scare everybody off.
Yeah.
That being said, Steve Buscemi is great.
Oh, I've been a fan of his since the first time I saw him in anything.
What was the first thing you saw him in? Probably Reservoir Dogs?
Oh, dude, you're gonna hate me. Can I just not answer that question? Because
No.
I've never seen Reservoir Dogs.
That's okay. What did you see him in first that you can think of?
I feel like there's certain movies that if I say, even though you can kind of expect it, I haven't seen that movie, that you're gonna be upset with me. And I thought Reservoir Dogs would be one of them.
I've calmed down over the last year.
Have I lulled you into a sense of disappointment where you just accept it at this point?
Oh, it's not disappointment. It's pure defeat.
Well, now I just feel guilty. Oh, man.
No, I'm curious, though. Do you remember the first time you saw him?
I
don't.
think, yeah, there was a movie, and I'm trying to actually look up the title. I think it was called... Nope.
It would be Anticipation.
No. I don't know what it was.
All right, that's fine.
Anyway.
In the parking lot, we meet Pip.
Oh, it is what it is. I saw him in a movie called $20.
I don't think I've ever heard of that movie.
I had to check the IMDb to make sure that it was correct, but it's actually, now that I'm looking at it, it's a movie that had Brendan Fraser in it as well.
What year?
93.
A year before this. Interesting. I'll look into that. I have no idea what that movie is.
Yeah, he played a character named Frank in $20. That was the first time I remember seeing him, and I've been a fan since. Let's see. Linda Hunt, Brendan Fraser, Elizabeth Shue, Steve Buscemi, Christopher Lloyd, and Spalding Gray are the people listed on the cover.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
What an amazing cast.
I mean, you want to talk about amazing cast, we're talking about one right now.
I think, yeah, there's a lot of people in this.
Yeah, keep going. Anyway, we got sidetracked here.
Who I just mentioned, who is played by Adam Sandler, and is Rex's brother, a pool cleaner, and the drummer for the band. I do have to bring up the point that Rex in this movie, Steve Buscemi, looks exactly like the bass player from Pantera, whose name is also Rex.
Oh, coincidence?
Yeah. There's some weird character development here in the parking lot that seems to be inconsequential to the entire plot, other than initial events, where Pip and Rex are almost complacent when it comes to success, but Chaz says that you can't wait for things to happen, you got to make it happen. And then, like, the rest of the movie's almost reactionary, so it takes that line completely out of context.
Okay.
At Rex and Pip's apartment, it's revealed that Rex has been stealing or taking discontinued toys. Pip gets a plush crash test dummy, and Rex has water guns that were discontinued because they look too real. His plan is to fill them with hot sauce and use them for protection in case anybody tries to break into their apartment and steal their band gear.
I mean, there is a level of realism to this, because a lot of toy guns were taken off the market or had to be reproduced with orange rings on the barrels.
Yep.
because they were looking way too realistic.
Yeah, I had a bunch of toy guns before that was put into action. One that looked completely real and also had like a functional slide on the top. It was pretty intense. So I understand. Anybody could see that from maybe like even 3-4 meters away and think it was real.
Yeah, the toy companies really shot themselves in the foot on that one.
It begins! Cut to the whiskey where Sons of Thunder are having their record release party. Ian the Shark is hosting on the main stage, and I completely forgot that Hawaiian Tropic Girls were a thing. I remember that they were all over like advertisements, concerts, just girls in bathing suits with the Hawaiian Tropic logo on them. And they were just there to dance around.
I mostly remember them from the end of Dumb and Dumber.
I don't remember that part.
Oh.
It's been a long time since I saw Dumb and Dumber.
Dude, this is not your best day.
It's a pretty good day.
No, I mean, like, yeah, forget it.
Other than being assaulted at Costco earlier.
I mean, like, you were saying how you didn't know where Amy Locane was from. You didn't know $20. You don't remember the end of Dumb and Dumber. Like, who are you? What have you done with my Ben?
It's an off day, man.
That's cool. We're all allowed to have an off day. Keep going.
I really like the character of Ian. Perfectly cast, Joe Mantegna. This is where we get our first inkling that he's disgusted by the current state of rock and metal scene.
Oh, you mean mixing a beer and Pepto-Bismol?
Eventually, yeah. Because he's talking to KPPX station manager Milo, played by Michael McKean, who's also well cast in this movie. And he just goes, "The Sons of Thunder, for Christ's sake? What happened? How can you even tell these bands apart?"
I'm pretty sure you could tell the Sons of Thunder apart just based on their outfits.
Yeah, but not sound. That sound was as generic could be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the band takes the stage and lead singer thanks Ian and Rebel Radio for playing their song and getting them a record contract. Chaz in the crowd immediately knows that's what he and the boys have to do.
Yeah.
The next day, they head to KPPX to get their demo played on air. In the van, Pip relays a story about how secure radio stations actually are, and Rex pulls one of his water guns and tells his brother that if anybody gives him any static, he'll shove the gun in their face.
Nice solid setup for all of this.
Yeah, but I'm realizing something about the characters at this point.
Okay.
It's just like a weird contradiction, because Rex has a really gruff, aggressive, fuck you attitude, but works in a children's toy store. And Pip is made out to be a complete, incompetent, bumbling idiot, yet owns his own business and gets all of the girls. And Chaz is the neutral. He's the balanced one. Yet he's the lead. He's not really that focused. He does have a little bit of drive, I guess. But it's weird to be flanked by these two odd characters.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's a good combination.
Me too. It went a little bit deeper than I expected this kind of comedy to go.
Okay, fair enough.
They arrive at KPPX, and it turns out Pip was right. It is a struggle to get in. They try to use Pip's bank card to key their way through the security pad, but loses the card in the machine. They try to get creative and blow soda through the slot, and that just shuts down the machine completely. But eventually they prop open a door with a bag, and they're in.
Rex and his MacGyver moment.
Yeah.
To no effect. And luckily, Pip gets smacked in the face by the door, which gives them the opportunity to get in.
There was one cool thing that happened as they were driving up here, and I was like, holy shit, is that? No, it can't be. And I looked in the trivia, and yeah, it was. Like, it's Fox Tower. They were pulling into the Nakatomi Plaza from Die Hard.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, inside they find Ian doing his thing live on air and pass a meeting between Milo and Doug Beach, played by Michael Richards, discussing a secret business plan. Surprised to see Michael Richards in this?
I was surprised in that I forgot that he was in it. But then when I saw the role, I was like, yeah, it makes sense why he was cast in this position.
It really does.
Yeah.
Because for most of this movie, he plays horizontal Kramer.
Yeah, it's just a bumbling doofus.
Yeah. Our heroes enter the broadcast room and introduce themselves, stating they were hoping Ian could play their demo tape and help them out like they helped out the Sons of Thunder. Ian hits the live button and questions the boys about their plan after breaking in to get their demo played. Milo hears this over the speakers and breaks for the broadcasting booth. Yeah.
Sorry, I was going to say, I found it weird how they just walk into the booth and then just stand there smiling and waiting. This is like the creepiest way you could do this.
Oh, no, obviously I never worked for like a big radio studio like that. But I have been on the radio and people just wander into the booth and you look at them like, can I help you? While you're still speaking.
And do they just stand there smiling at you like they have a schoolgirl crush?
No, they start pantomiming, like trying to convince you they're here for a reason, and then like sign at you what they're going to do, and you just go to a track.
Exactly. These guys just walked in and started smiling at him.
Yeah, but we know this. He doesn't really care anymore. He's like, all right, let's see what happens. Just
this character is checked out.
I love it though, because he does help the story multiple times, and he's just a secondary character.
Okay.
Chaz relays everything they've been through to get there, being incredibly honest about himself and Kayla. Milo barges in and demands Ian get the morons off the air. Ian refuses and lets them speak.
The part about this that I found a little bit hard to swallow is that they didn't realize they were on the air when Ian swings a microphone right to them.
These guys are oblivious.
Oh, they are. But even then, you would think, hey, I don't think he wants to get the volume check on my crotch. He's clearly swinging this towards me for some reason.
So I took this next chunk right from IMDb because it really sums up what happens and gives a really good quote.
Okay.
It says, Milo grabs Chaz and tries to throw him out, but Rex pulls a water gun out of the bag and threatens him. Doug hears this over the speakers and panics. Chaz joins in, grabbing another gun and berating everyone in the booth. We get him saying, do you know what it's like to be on the bill and to play for 15 minutes and the only people there to see you are the other bands and their girlfriends? Don't talk to me about rock and roll. I'm out there in the clubs and on the streets and I'm living it. I am rock and roll. Okay, well, he's self-aware, just not aware of his surroundings whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Chaz calls up producer Jimmy Wing, who hears it on the radio down at Palatine Records, and freaks out. He is a good actor. I just find him really annoying.
Who, Judd Nelson?
Judd Nelson, yeah.
Okay.
The frantic Doug calls the police and tells them about this potential hostage situation. The boys convince Milo to have their demo played, but Ian informs them that they can't play reels in the station, only CDs and cassettes. Chaz refuses to believe that a radio station doesn't have a reel-to-reel, and Milo leads them into Marcus's office. Marcus, played by Reg Cathey, who is awesome, one of my favorite actors from The Wire and Oz. To get the only one in the building. Sorry, awkward sentence structure.
Yeah, that's all right.
Doug is in full bug-out mode now, crawling through the halls of the station, under desks, around chairs.
And we see the slapstick humor that he was brought in for. Like, he's crawling, not even using his lower body. It's just kind of dragging behind him.
Yeah, it is pure slapstick, but I feel like it's the only slapstick in the movie, which makes it not really fit.
I didn't think it stood out that badly.
All right, maybe I just don't like Michael Richards.
That's a possibility, too.
Yeah.
Only you can answer how you feel about him.
Marcus sets up the reel-to-reel, furious about yet another scenario where the white man is keeping the black man down. Pip makes unintentional racial remarks, and Marcus isn't having any of it, anxious to take them out as soon as they let their guard down. Doug hides inside a broom closet, accidentally covering himself in flammable liquid. And again, like you said, I said, like, while the writing in the movie is good, you brought up the point that he adds an extra punch of physical comedy, of slapstick comedy, which at this point hasn't really gotten over the top, but is already starting to rub me the wrong way.
Just stay calm, man. You got a long way to go.
You'd be surprised.
Okay, then.
Back in the booth, Ian asks the band for the name.
Shut down.
The Lone Rangers. And his response is, how can you pluralize Lone Ranger? There's 3 of you. You're not exactly lone. That's one of the lines that stands out to me. I think that's because it's in the trailer.
It is in the trailer, yes.
The Rangers' plan works, and Ian hits play on the tape. The victory is short-lived, though. The reel-to-reel eats part of the tape, with the remainder falling into an ashtray and igniting from Rex's discarded cigarette. In a panic, the boys decide the best thing to do is run, but they've been on air this whole time, and there's now a police presence outside every entrance to the station.
Yes.
Comments so far? Comments so far?
No.
No?
No.
Point by point? All right.
Yeah, just leave you hanging.
Standing inside the front doors of the station, they call each other out for dumb decisions, not noticing that Yvonne, played by Michelle Hurst, is at the front desk playing her Game Gear the whole time. Also completely unaware that anything is happening.
Was this after Adam Sandler tried going outside in the back?
Yes.
Okay. Because I didn't mind that scene. It was one of the few shots of Alan Cover that we see as a police officer. And they have a bit of an interesting, like, a mirror routine or whatever you would call it.
I guess, yeah. Pip takes a step forward, cop takes a step forward, takes a step back, cop takes a step back, and then he starts doing this weird dance, which we would eventually see all the time with Adam Sandler. You have to keep in mind, other than his very first independent movie he did, this is his first big movie role. Other than this, he was just the guy from SNL.
There's nothing wrong with that. Got to start somewhere.
Yeah, no, and it's good. Like, I think after this, the year after this, he did Billy Madison, and the year after that is Happy Gilmore. So it definitely made everyone take notice of him as something more than just a TV comedic actor.
Oh, for sure.
Now I'm lost myself. Okay. The guys decide to round up everybody in the station until they can figure out what to do next. This includes Susie, Nina Zamasco, who we talked about in License to Drive, and Carter, played by David Arquette. Fully bleached blonde David Arquette. And this is our first glimpse of a character we would see him play time and time again. And actually, not even just a character. You see him act like this in interviews sometimes. So I'm wondering how much of this is an act and how much is this just Hollywood nepotism of an Arquette wanting to be in a movie. Luckily for Doug, he pulled himself up into the air ducts to escape. Unfortunately for Doug, he's using a Zippo to light the way and sets himself on fire. You're getting the biggest laughs out of Michael Richards, man. I don't know how you can do that.
He just reminds me of someone I know.
Okay.
And, I mean, watching him flail around while he sets himself on fire is kind of entertaining. You gotta admit, that's funny.
That one was pretty good.
Yeah, come on.
It was Chekhov's gun, for sure. Like, he covered himself in flammable liquid, so you know that's coming into play later on.
Exactly. I mean, exactly.
Chaz wants everyone on the floor, but allows Susie to sit in a chair. Milo protests, and the result is everybody can sit in a chair except Milo.
I like that part. Milo, you're a douche.
Yeah. And Michael McKean plays that asshole character very well in numerous films.
Yeah.
Most recently, I would say Better Call Saul. He was absolutely amazing in a similar role in that show. Because you got that asshole element, but you also got a caring brother character out of him, too. I think we have to pay more credit to his long career in film and television.
I haven't seen Better Call Saul. So.
Yeah, I know. Have you seen... I'm drawing a blank. This is Spinal Tap?
No.
Okay. Moving on.
How much disappointment can you feel for me today?
I don't know. I'm kind of getting used to it. It's been about a decade or more.
Okay.
Ernie Hudson, Sergeant O'Malley, arrives on scene outside and gives commands to Officer Wilson, played by the amazing Chris Farley.
Just
And
think,
this is where I left a note saying this cast is one of the best ever.
and I was just about to say, just think of the names you've said already in regards to the cast.
I'm thinking about them.
I mean, there's so many big names.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm wondering how much of this is SNL linked, though. Because it's weird to see Farley and Sandler show up in this. Because I don't really think Chris Farley was really in many films up until this point. I guess they both had bit parts in Coneheads, but again, that was an SNL movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like Chris Farley's character is like the biggest one in this.
No, but with a personality as big as he had, like he definitely stands out.
Yeah. We got an SNLer talking to a Ghostbuster.
Yeah.
Won't be the last time this happens.
Also not the first time, because Bill Murray was in Ghostbusters.
But that's a Ghostbuster talking to himself. And you know what? Just forget it.
Bill Murray's SNL.
I know that, but that's the same person. This is Ernie Hudson, who's a Ghostbuster, talking to Chris Farley, who's an SNLer.
Your logic is lost on me.
Forget it.
The phone in the booth rings.
Wait, did you forget about Dan Aykroyd in Ghostbusters?
Yes, I did.
All right. You know what? Just
He was also in Coneheads.
Just move forward. This is getting bad.
Yeah, I know, but you're on the show, so.
Ah!
The phone in the booth rings and Chaz instructs Ian to answer. The police want to know what their demands are. Chaz and Ian have a conversation about the smartest move to make, and Chaz realizes the only choice they have is to get another copy of the demo. Unfortunately, Kayla has it, and has thrown it out of her car while driving down the road.
Good timing.
Yep.
Apparently, just when the movie needed it, she went from listening to the song to throwing it out the window.
Yeah, well, I don't even think she realized what she was listening to, and the point that she does, that's when she just rips it out of the cassette deck and throws it in the street.
Yeah.
O'Malley tells Wilson to manage the crowd that is starting to form outside of the station. And I guess this might be at a more simpler time, because when you hear of a hostage situation in a building, especially something like a radio station, I don't know how quickly a mob of people would start to form outside just to watch what's going on.
Yeah, like a tailgate party breaks out.
Yeah, and this is before anything major has happened. And it's like just a group of people being like, what's going on? Why are there police outside the radio station? Why are you even wandering past that radio station? It's in the back of the building. So they must be listening to it on the radio and then decide to go down and watch.
I think you're asking...
Which is also weird.
I think you're asking way too many questions here, dude.
I guess.
Yeah.
Chaz exits the station and instructs O'Malley to find the other copy of the tape. Only then will they let everyone go, and the search for Kayla begins. Inside, Pip asks Yvonne why black people don't like him, with even more awkwardness. Chaz livens the crowd before heading back inside. Once in, he agrees to let Yvonne go as a show of trust. Rex showboats in front of the crowd, further growing their adoration of the Rangers. Now we get Carl Mace, played by Marshall Bell, the leader of a SWAT team that has just arrived. And all he can really do is repeatedly complain about his failed marriage.
Not a fan of this character.
He has some comedic moments with Doug, but overall, yeah, I don't really like him either.
Oh.
He and O'Malley have a power struggle determining who is command of the situation. Mace intercepts a phone call from Doug, and the two form a partnership, with Doug being the inside man to report what's going on from the station. There's a quote here that I think I may have included in awards. I'm not entirely sure, but I thought was rather hilarious.
Okay.
With the station under their control, the Rangers broadcast a playlist of their favorite songs, further growing the crowd outside. We then get a montage of looting things from the station and the mob having a grand old time partying outside.
Just a grand old time.
It's a full-on concert, almost.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of Pump Up the Volume, where everybody gathered in the field and started partying, listening to Christian Slater.
Yeah, and I mean, in that situation, that just happened to be a place where they hung out. It's not like
it's the only place they could really... A lot of them could get the station, I think.
Yeah, that's what they were saying because of the reception.
Yeah.
This, they just And like you said, happened to be walking by the radio station?
I guess.
Okay.
But I guess Los Angeles is a really boring place and there's nothing really happening.
Oh, yeah, nothing happening.
No.
Not like one of the characters that we're about to discover is heading to a Rob Zombie concert.
Yeah. White Zombie concert.
Oh, right. This is earlier than that. Sorry.
94.
Oh, I hope I don't piss off too many fans.
They accept phone calls to win concert tickets. Some fun banter ensues, and we get a weird cameo from Beavis and Butthead calling into the station.
Yeah, that seemed out of place to me, but I guess it would have fit the early 90s rocker culture that they're...
Oh, definitely playing the MTV crowd.
Yeah.
We get more physical comedy from Doug as he falls out of the ceiling vent trying to reach a phone. He contacts Mace, who uses the opportunity to rant about his ex-wife.
Okay, see, I had a problem with this. As much as you're supposed to accept Michael Richards as just slapstick humor.
Yeah.
How did he get that phone? Or rather, the phone that he first talked to O'Malley on?
Oh, I have no idea.
Or
I thought wasn't that him hiding under a desk? He got it from
Carl Mace. Because at one point, you see him in the vent with the phone receiver hanging as he just has the handpiece. It's like...
The receiver.
Did you pick it up and then climb back in? Probably not.
Yeah, that's what's implied, I think.
Yeah, that's the part that bothers me. Of all the other things I'm okay with, that bothered me.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I say a lot of ridiculous things.
We get a great conversation with Chaz and Yin about the state of modern music versus classic rock. Both make valid points. Rex then brings up Milo has a stockpile of easy listening CDs in his office, and we find out that KPPX is switching direction and going easy listening.
The rain.
Yeah.
Even in a hypothetical situation where this is real, like a radio station changing to easy listening, you'd have to think they'd come up with a better name than that garbage.
I don't know. There's a lot of really shitty radio station names out there.
And that one might just take the cake for the worst one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
the
possible.
rain. Listen to the soft sound of the rain.
I've heard worse, man. Now that I think about it, I've heard worse.
All right, whatever.
There's a weird background line of what's supposed to be comedy here, which I just found really depressing. Did you catch Susie?
Oh, yeah, I did.
Yeah, in the background with her head in her hands and utters all those blowjobs for nothing.
When she finds out she's going to lose her job because the radio station is changing? Yeah.
Because of Milo.
Milo.
He's like the Chad of this movie.
What's the Chad?
From Tucker and Dale.
Ah, the Chad.
This whole time, the cassette of the demo is being trashed in the street. Cars are driving over it. Animals are pissing on it, etc. Officer Wilson shows up at the whiskey looking for Kayla, a blonde wearing something tight and black. Basically every woman at the bar.
It's a good thing that O'Malley sent his best man.
Yeah. And this is what you were saying too, because this is where we have White Zombie playing. Multiple bands were approached for this cameo and just never responded or straight up turned it down. But Wilson ends up in the mosh pit, freeing himself and eventually finding Kayla. They just throw him around that pit. It's pretty funny. Especially Chris Farley, physical comedy.
Yep.
Furious Ian confronts Milo about the genre change and finds out that everybody's being replaced. It's a full-on revolt now, and the KPPX crew and the Rangers are uniting. Some guys at the metal show see Wilson and Kayla talking and misinterpret what's happening. They confront Wilson and rip the badge off his uniform, and his reaction is to tear out one of their nipple piercings.
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine if a cop did that in a club today?
Oh, it would be all over the news, and that guy would be forced to, resign from his position.
Oh, he'd be dead.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but he would absolutely be fired.
In Los Angeles? I don't know.
I don't know, okay?
Oh, Mace is back on the phone telling Doug about an affair his wife had with the pool boy. And I have in brackets here, Pip strikes again.
Yeah, I had the same thought. Is it going to end up being Pip?
Kayla, who's bailed on the club at this point, hears Chaz on the radio pleading for her to bring the tape down to the station. She somehow remembers exactly where she threw it out of the car, picks it up, shakes the dog piss off of it, and heads to Nakatomi Plaza. Rex is making a list of ridiculous demands so they can plead insanity after they're arrested. On this list, 67 copies of Moby Dick. I have in quotes here. The movie or the book?
They made a book out of that movie?
Naked pictures of B. Arthur, a football helmet filled with cottage cheese, a bass, a guitar, etc. I do find it hard to believe here, though, that Rex is aware of the 1956 Moby Dick film starring Gregory Peck and not the fact that it's based off of a book.
It's not meant to be.
I know. It's just... I get the joke until you think about the character saying the joke.
I do like how...
Yeah.
I do like how they throw back to this multiple times. Like at one point you see a police officer putting cottage cheese in a helmet. Another point they're looking at some pictures. You can't see them, obviously. And somebody's like, oh, B. Arthur, right? Like they do throw back to this.
Oh, yeah. Mr. Wing. Rex also demands her a record contract, and Chaz freaks out. They can't just demand a contract. It has to come unsolicited. A throwback to the conversation he had with Jimmy Wing at the record studio. Susie and Pip have sex on a couch in Milo's office, not knowing that Doug is hiding behind it.
There was another line here that I completely missed when I watched it when I was younger. When they start having sex, you just hear Adam Sandler, like, help me.
Yeah.
I don't get it so much, but...
I don't get it either. That's why I left it out, because it just doesn't fit.
Yeah. Like, all of a sudden, Susie is too aggressive for him or something?
I have no idea. This was a throwaway scene that just didn't need to happen.
But it did. Because the ladies love Pip.
Yes. Which is weird, because we already understand that. But I guess they felt the need to show it. Mace gets his background check on Chaz and finds out he's just an average guy named Chester Ogilvy who moved out west trying to make it big. While tied to a chair in the booth, Milo has managed to make phone calls trying to sell ad time on the radio during the hostage fiasco. I don't know who would be running the board to play these ads, though, so that's something. SWAT has Pip's van towed away, and Mace freaks out when he learns that they found pool cleaning gear inside of it. He gets on the phone and makes plans to give Doug a gun. Because he's in full rage mode now.
This guy should not have the job that he has.
No. No, God, no. Ian questions the boys about the fad of getting tattoos. He understands the simple ones, but why a Reaper? This is one of the few moments where we get something real out of Chaz. And he says it's like the Reaper is stalking him and he better step up and get this band on the go. Now, I guess I was wrong earlier when I said it. He kind of drops the, you can't let things happen to you. You have to go out and make it happen yourself. That he follows it up with a quote, I'm average and screwed up enough that I might just write a song that will live forever. And then it's all going to be worth it. Ian pops on the air live, and reveals Milo's plan to switch over to easy listening, urging everyone to head on down to the station, like no one's there already.
Yeah, see, it would have made sense if the
party.
It would have made sense if the crowd started forming now.
Yeah, that's weird. Might just be editing. He turns the mic over to Chaz, who freezes. A quick pep talk later, Chaz screams rock and roll into the mic, and we, I guess, now let the party outside begin?
Which has been going on for half the movie thus far.
Yeah, and this is a standard trick in these kind of movies, too. Once you cheer on a mob of people, then you hit the music, and then you just show quick shots of other things happening to progress the story that don't need dialogue. Like Kayla arriving with the tape. Doug gets his gun from the roof. Milo wheels himself to the bathroom, but uses the opportunity to escape to his office, where he discovers that Susie and Pip are having sex on his $1,400 couch. Pip immediately apologizes because he's Pip, but Susie finally takes a stand. The power cuts out, and immediately Rex grabs Milo by the ponytail, pulling him down the hallway and stuffs him in a closet.
I did like the visual of that.
Yeah. It looked painful.
It did.
Realistic, unlike a lot of this film. I forget Harold Ramis being in this movie, so we get another Ghostbuster.
That's when I said earlier. It's not the last time that happens in this movie, but
He arrives claiming to be a record executive, ready to sign the boys to a deal. Chaz asks him what side he took after the Van Halen split, but he fails the test. Chaz then asks him who would win in a wrestling match, Lemmy or God. Ramus first says Lemmy, then changes his answer to God, but it's a trick question. Lemmy is God. The boys decree him to be a fake and cast him out. Probably another one of the more popular quotes from the movie.
Yeah, I would say so.
It's good, though. Like, a lot of the time, the writing here is pretty spot on for the time. That's good. They all run outside and almost incite a riot, demanding the police turn the power on. They throw concert tickets into the crowd, and they're cheering on their spectators, chanting Rodney King, which severely confuses Marcus inside.
It confuses me, too.
It confuses everybody.
Being honest. Yeah.
Not early 90s LA. Kayla yells to Chaz, but is stopped by Mace, who reveals Chaz's previous identity. Chaz comes clean, telling them how much of a nerd he used to be. The crowd shouts out admissions of their own past. Vinny DeRamus from Glory Days yells out he played D&D. Lemmy from Motorhead yells out that he was the editor of his school magazine. And Stuttering John from Howard Stern yells out that he used to masturbate constantly. The crowd is more united than ever, cheering on our unsigned hostage takers. Have you noticed with a lot of these 90s comedies that the last act happens at a breakneck pace?
I have, yeah.
It is a really weird formula that I've never fully realized until we've been doing this. But yeah, any comedy that we've done, the build-up's there, second act, you got some pretty fun comedy, and then they're like, shit, we need to end this fast. And then it's boom, 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 action, action, action. Kayla knees Mason the balls and runs to our protagonist while Rex starts a Chaz chant. Everyone goes back inside, and the guys are stunned and furious when they discover the condition of the cassette.
Yeah, like, what did she think they were going to do when they saw a cassette that was destroyed and pissed on?
Yeah, or at least her, be like, guys, just FYI, it's not in the best shape.
Yeah.
But just hands it over. I assume she would understand how a cassette works.
I don't know about this character. She flip-flops a lot.
She does.
From supportive to not, dismissive, from smart to stupid. There's no consistency to this character.
She unloads on Chaz, and for the most part is completely in the right, except for bringing up that he wrote the song for her, which we've already seen flip-flopped earlier.
Yeah, and he throws it back at her, reminding her of what she reminded him earlier.
Yeah. And then, enraged that Chaz doesn't care about her, Kayla throws a chair through the window of the broadcast booth, and it destroys the soundboard. Chaz freaked out.
This character is unhinged.
No, it's not the only one. Anyway, Chaz freaks out, saying that she's the reason this whole thing is happening, and is forced into admitting his love for her.
Yeah, it seemed to really pain him to say that.
But the half-assed admittance somehow wins her over, and the two kiss.
Could they not have put something in the movie earlier where maybe she tells him that she loves him and he's very resistant to saying it or something? Where maybe the fact that he finally says it is some sort of revelation? It just seems odd when it's just not built up and just happens.
Didn't you earlier tell me not to look too deep into this?
Well, yeah, but you went on a really long tangent. That was only a short tangent. So,
yeah, but mine made sense.
Mine didn't?
No. I'm not going to lie, I wasn't really paying attention. What are we talking?
Why am I here?
Who are you?
Just go on, you jerk.
Who am I here? The police are amassing the demands outside. Milo is trying to slap his way out of the closet, and Doug is in the air ducts trying to figure out how the gun works. The boys lead Ian and Carter to the front doors to bring in their demands. Rex takes the opportunity to showboat in front of the crowd, accidentally breaking off the barrel of the water gun in the door. Hot sauce runs everywhere, and Carter takes the opportunity to flee into the crowd. Milo starts yapping, and Chaz sprays him in the face with hot sauce. They lock the doors and try to run back into the station, but are confronted by Doug's arm wielding his gun from the ducts above.
So this shot didn't look right to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because it looked like his arm was way too long.
It really did. From his shoulder to his elbow, that entire part was like twice as long as it should be.
Yeah, it's like a throwback to the Stretch Armstrong that was in Rex's apartment or something.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. The SWAT team makes their advance on the station, but Ian knocks the gun out of Doug's hand. It hits the ground and bullets spray everywhere. Now under the belief that the Rangers have real guns, the police retreat. Ian picks up the gun and after a second of hesitation just hands it over to Chaz. They unload a fire extinguisher into the air ducts to deal with Doug and retreat to the broadcast booth where Chaz angrily phones O'Malley. Again, makes me like the character of Ian.
Yeah. I don't know how you can not like Ian.
Yeah. Pick up the gun, realize you don't know how to work it, look at the situation, and give it over to the people who really need a helping hand.
Yeah.
Chaz tells the sergeant about the guy in the vents, and O'Malley assures him he had nothing to do with it. Judd Nelson returns. Jimmy Wing arrives at the station and is doing his best brown-nose routine to sign the Lone Rangers. Milo tries to negotiate the deal for them for a smooth 10%. Ian agrees that Milo would benefit them, but convinces him to take 5% instead.
I mean, in the circumstance they're in, you do it for free.
Yeah.
I'm glad
he's established to be a greedy asshole, so that makes sense.
Yes, and I'm glad that Ian stood up for them, but they could just, point the gun at him and say, do it for free.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're not greedy. They want to earn what they get by holding hostages.
What seems like a drug-addled David Arquette begs to be let back inside, but is dragged away by the police.
Yeah, shouldn't have escaped.
And that's what Rex tells him. It's great. Chaz gets Rex to set up the demo so Jimmy can hear it, and Rex and Pip come to terms with the fact that they're going to jail. Cut to Milo and Jimmy negotiating the contract, and Milo is oddly doing his best to get the boys the best possible deal he can, which I found really strange.
Why? If they actually did agree to give him any percentage, the better deal they get, the bigger his percentage is.
I know, but he's already going to be famous.
Just saying.
Yeah, you think he would undercut them somewhere along the way, though, because they're not going to understand what that contract means. Chaz ruminates about the future. Ian fails to fix the board, and Milo presents the boys with the new record contract. But it turns out that Jimmy had never heard the demo, and Chaz wipes his ass with the contract, knowing that they aren't being signed for the right reason. He wants to be a star on his own terms, but Jimmy reminds him that he's already a star and needs the right help and representation. Rock stars don't go to jail. Vince Neil only served 30 days, and he killed somebody. Which is sad but true.
No comment.
Messed up Vince Neil wrecked a car with the drummer from Hanoi Rocks in it. Chaz agrees to the deal, and Jimmy arranges to have a stage and instruments flown in so they can perform the song live. The boys get ready. Okay, you know what's weird about that? Why wouldn't they just fly in another stereo? Or make a demand for another stereo?
Because that wouldn't work for the comedy, dude.
I guess. The boys get ready to play their song, but quickly discover the whole thing is fake. Their instruments aren't even plugged in, and the song is going to be played from a machine. Oh yeah, the stereo they could have demanded. But I guess it is all show to make the mob more intense.
I mean, I had a problem with this because Jimmy tells them we're making a music video, and somehow these guys who don't know much about anything but seem to know about rock and roll don't realize that music videos are made by lip syncing.
Yes. The whole point of them putting on the show, though, is so Jimmy can finally hear the song and then offer them the valid contract.
But he's going to hear the song on the stereo and make the video at the same time. Two birds, one stone, man.
Yes, but at that same point, that's what I'm saying. Like, you could have had them bring a stereo in or let them play live. The thing is, it's at the point now where they've been double-crossed, and he's going to sign them no matter what. And that's why we get Chaz's reaction. It's, he's taking a stand against everything right now at this point. I totally get that.
My only complaint when I was watching this scene is, why didn't the police just shoot them when they gave up the gun to go play their instruments?
I don't know if you could just shoot somebody without, them being armed.
Surround them with guns? I mean, it's a perfect opportunity to end this hostage situation, but it's not how this movie works.
No. They protest to the pantomime, and Jimmy says that if they don't do it, their contract is void. The audio plays, but the Rangers refuse to comply. Ian grabs the mic and gets the crowd to rush the stage, causing a riot. And you want to talk physical comedy. Did you watch Brendan Fraser smashing his guitar around the stage?
I mean, I saw it. I wasn't really paying attention to whatever you might be referring to here.
He goes full swing and then lightly taps everything that he's trying to smash the guitar on. And they kept it in the movie.
Nice.
It's really funny, and I'm pretty sure an editing mistake. The band stage dives and are carried around by the crowd. That's where you get the police to move in, I would say. Once they're in the mob.
They could have moved in before, but yeah.
Well, a transition moves us to the band playing their song in prison for the other inmates. Ian is the new band manager, and they're going on tour in 6 months, or 3 if they behave themselves.
I like that line.
Yeah, it was good. Good delivery, good writing. On-screen text lets us know that the Lone Rangers served 3 months in prison for kidnapping, theft, and assault with hot pepper sauce. Their album, Live in Prison, went triple platinum. Roll credits.
Happy ending.
I guess.
What do you mean you guess?
I was just happy it was over.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. I don't know.
It's not a movie to watch twice in a couple of days.
Okay. Well, before we get into that, why don't we talk numbers?
Well, I do want to bring up the fact that it was directed by Michael Lehmann, who is known for Heathers, which I still have to watch. I've never seen, and Hudson Hawk, the Bruce Willis thief film. And I'm aware of the dark humor in Heathers, and I'm aware of like weird action, stealthy, ridiculous comedy writing of Hudson Hawk. So I can kind of see how he mixed those two into what we see on screen. But it was written by Rich Wilkes, who wrote The Stoned Age, The Jerky Boys, one of my favorite movies, Glory Days. But then like Triple X, which I found strange. And then one of his most recent works that I have seen, and it makes so much sense after having watched this movie, is that he did the screenplay for The Dirt, the Motley Crue movie.
Okay.
But yeah, you want to talk numbers. This movie is a complete failure. It had a budget of $11 million. It made just over half that, $5.8 million.
Ooh.
The reviews on par, 6.1 out of 10 on IMDb. As far as Rotten Tomatoes goes, the critics gave it 23% and the audience gave it 50%.
Oh.
Now, keep in mind, this is over the time since its release as well. The movie itself doesn't really age well. Anybody who wasn't that certain age when that movie came out and they watch it today, like the music industry has changed so much that this was probably just like misunderstood, nostalgic garbage. I could see it diminishing over time. But in 1994 and like going through into the late 90s, this movie was incredibly popular.
I feel like if this movie was made a few years later when a whole bunch of these actors went on to bigger fame, it probably would have done much better.
I would hope so. I mean, the budget would have inflated like mad. But yeah, I think had this been done later in their career, like you're saying, and some of their other films had already been released, it would have been self-advertising at that point.
I mean, it screams like one of those situations where it would have been good for like them to have like a distribution contract fall out, and the movie's filmed, and it doesn't release for a few more years while they're shopping it around, and in the meantime, they get bigger.
Yeah. Yeah. Just too early in their careers, but I guess they were working with such a small budget, they did the best they could with it. And like it does not look like a bad movie. And again, like I said, at the time, everybody I knew that had seen it loved it. So I don't know. I guess it just didn't do as well in the States.
I guess not.
Move on to awards.
You betcha.
I'm curious about worst performance for you, but do you want me to start, or are you good?
I mean, I'm pretty sure you always start worst performance, so why change that routine?
I have Amy Locane as Kayla.
Oh, yeah?
It was going to be Michael Richards, because all he's doing is playing Kramer.
But that doesn't necessarily mean he's doing it poorly. He's just...
He is doing it poorly, though.
I mean...
Because it's... like, his line delivery sucks.
Well, are you picking him, or are you picking Amy Locane?
I already said I was picking Amy Locane.
Well, then you started talking about Michael Richards.
Well, you defended him, and I told you why it was almost him. But her line delivery is worse than her character, her written character flip-flopping all over the point. Like, I don't know if it's inflection in her lines or what, but some of her dialogue just comes across confused.
Yeah, I could see that.
It doesn't happen with anybody else, though. Like, even the lines that confuse us are meant to confuse us. She'll say something, and I just kind of, like, stare at the screen like, what's the relevance here? And then, like, okay, that has to be the writing. And, like, could you deliver that line any better? And I think about it and be like, yeah, you could. There are lines that come across as questions, but they aren't. And I feel like she just kind of put her own twist on things when she shouldn't have.
Right.
You?
I went with Amy Locane as Kayla.
Yeah. Similar reasons?
Honestly, I was trying to think of how to properly express why I didn't like her, and all I could come up with was I just didn't like her.
Yeah.
It was one of those, I can't put my finger on it, but just, something doesn't sit right.
Yeah.
I was leaning more initially towards Nina Simakis. Zamasco? Because her role doesn't require very much. But
no, the
when
character doesn't need to be there.
No, but when I thought about it, I was like, just because the role doesn't require much doesn't mean that she doesn't do it just fine.
Yeah, and she's consistent.
Yeah, and then it's not her fault that the character was written so one-dimensional. But yeah, there was just something about Amy Locane that just didn't sit right with me.
Yeah. Well, honestly, like, with her, I was so confused about the character at times. It made me think about Chaz, where he's like, you can't just sit back and let things happen to you. You've got to make them happen. And I'm like, the only thing you're making happen is a future divorce sometime down the road, man.
Yeah.
Because they are completely incompatible, except for those brief moments where they think they're in love. Yeah. And I don't know. It's just an awkward character. I don't know if anybody could have really done it better, but it felt like she tried to put her own spin on it, and it made it even worse.
No, I can see that.
Yeah. Best performance, I think you know mine, but what are you going for?
I'm pretty sure we're going to go 2 for 2 here, because I'm going Ian.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Like, it's not even... Like, look, don't get me wrong. There are some very good performances in this movie.
Yeah.
But the gap between him and the rest of the crew is so noticeable. After that, there's a lot of just solid performances that are all very much neck and neck, but he stands out above and beyond, being able to deliver so many different things.
Yeah. Yeah. In my opinion, his character has the best arc in the film.
Yeah, I can see that.
It starts off with him mocking his listeners on the radio. It then cuts to him introducing a band at a concert and him lamenting over the current state of rock music. And he's obviously not doing well with it. So like you said, he's slamming Pepto-Bismol and beer. He gets to the station and the band bursts in. He has a what the fuck ever attitude, hits the live button, swings the mic around, and lets them speak their piece. Stands up to his boss, calling him an asshole. Later on, is presented with the opportunity, has the talk with Chaz about the pros and cons of current and classic music. Later on, gets the live gun, looks at his surroundings, realizes that's what these guys need, gives Chaz the gun, goes back, informs them after the conversation between Milo and Jimmy Wing that Milo has a lot of experience and could really help you out.
Well, and that's just it. Here's a character that, at the beginning, laments modern music, talks about how he doesn't like current bands, and by the end of it, is helping one of them.
Well, yeah, at the quote concert, he cheers on the band and gets the crowd going crazy, and then the next time we see him, he's using his experience and expertise from his career in the music industry to manage them once they get out of prison. Like, that is a great character story.
Yep. And, again, not just the writing, the delivery by him in every regard, from his resentment to his revolution, is fantastic.
Yeah. Best character in the movie.
Easily.
Yeah. And that's why he also has one of my favorite lines. Multiple favorite lines, actually.
Well, you didn't tell us who you picked for best performance.
Amy Locane.
That's a lie.
Yeah, of course it's Ian.
Joe
Mantegna.
Montaigne. I can't pronounce last names. I can barely pronounce first names.
Montaigne.
That guy.
Fat Tony from The Simpsons.
Fat Tony. Okay, all right. Sorry. Go ahead. You were going to say your best line?
Yeah, it's a back and forth between Ian and Pip. And
Okay.
Ian just says, "What's your name?" And Pip says, "My name's Pip." And he goes, The band name." He doesn't wear a helmet, does he?
Oh.
It's just like how stunned he is at that response.
It's not 3 out of 3, but I'd say it's probably 2.5, because mine was the following line. Well, there's 3 of you. You're not exactly lone. Shouldn't you be the 3 Rangers? Just because, I mean, it is. It's so telling of how out of it these guys are, that they don't get these simple things, but they don't need to get anything other than the rock and roll.
And I think it's Pip that follows that line up with, "I have no idea what you're saying."
I have no idea what you're saying right now. Yeah.
That's great. That's a great line.
Yep. But, I mean, that's why, like, I'm not saying 3 for 3, because mine was just a later part of the conversation that you referenced.
Yeah.
All right. Favorite
Scene.
most memorable or favorite moment or scene?
There are a lot. There are a lot in this.
Okay, yeah, but I start, so shut up. Well, that was rude. I'm sorry, man. I was just so excited to share my thoughts. I so seldom get to do that on this show. I'm going with Rex giving Pip a pep talk on how to be intimidating.
Okay.
I like the chemistry between the two of them throughout the majority of the movie. Like, Rex is almost like... They're brothers, but Rex is almost like his brother's keeper in a lot of the regards, which leads to a number of comedic moments. But, like, this is a situation where, again, as much as Rex gives him a hard time, you can see he's like, all right, I gotta help him. And then you couple that with Pip, who is not the strongest character, but I thought this was one of his stronger moments, where he's just too nice of a guy to be doing what he's doing and can't even do it. And then when he throws himself into it, he's like, get against the wall or I'll blow your head off. With what? My dick! It was a nice moment, but it was also a moment that they managed to sprinkle in a good amount of comedy.
Yeah. It's an understandable, memorable scene pick or favorite scene pick.
I'd say it leans more towards favorite than memorable, but I really liked it. What about you?
Well, my most memorable scene until the second last time I watched it, and then I just kind of abandoned it and went with a favorite scene. But for all these years, it was the scene of the concert on the roof when Chaz is supposed to start playing the guitar and just swings it behind his back in defiance of like the man and the corporate record industry. But just because I was like an angry teenager at the time. But watching it again, I really, really love them trying to break into the station in the first place.
With the ATM and the
Losing his
MacGyver.
bank card and like spewing soda into it, and then getting knocked out by the door before dropping the bag of water guns to hold it open.
I mean, it is a great bookmark scene to show just how little they have planned out for this.
Yeah.
Like, what's your plan? Get into the station and play the demo. Okay, how are you going to do that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Got nothing, man.
But yeah, I don't know. How do you want to get down to how you feel about the movie overall?
I mean, that's all that there is left to do, isn't there?
Yeah.
I will start this time.
Okay.
Normally you start, but I feel like I should take the reins for once, and this time I'm going to do it. I enjoyed the movie. I think that the reason that I enjoyed it is because we watched it together and we got to have a lot of fun with it. We even watched it with other people. On my own, I'd say that the fan votes of like a 5 out of 10 are probably pretty on. It's not a bad movie by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not one that you really can't miss.
Okay.
What, is that not acceptable?
No, I love how you were against switching up the order of who starts with the worst performance. Then you're like, I'm going to mix things up. I'm going to take the reins.
I'm only doing it because I felt like you were going to have a more impassioned response to how you felt about the movie. And I wanted to get my piece in because if you go on some tirade, I can't follow that.
No, well, don't worry. There's not going to be much of one. It's a great early 90s, like, music comedy. Great soundtrack, great actors, acceptable writing, and decent direction. It looks like a made-for-TV movie, but it's passable because you don't need major action sequences or anything like that. If there were anybody else cast in these roles, I think the comedy would have fallen pretty flat. So props to the casting director and director on that one. The story doesn't go anywhere big. It just gives you some insight to people trying to make a name for themselves when they may not actually have the talent or the wherewithal to do so, but kind of took us along on a really fun ride for 90 something minutes. It's a movie to watch with friends once, twice maybe. And it's a movie to look back on fondly and maybe revisit once every several years. But when you watch it twice in 1 week, you see how boring it can be, how the jokes aren't exactly timeless. You're not going to laugh at the same thing 2 or 3 times. But again, yeah, it's a 90s comedy. Like, do you want that to be timeless? It's set in the 90s. It plays heavily on 90s culture, but not in a nostalgic way because it wasn't a nostalgic film. So what you see is what you get of 1993, I guess, when it was filmed, 94 for the release. And it's not ashamed of it. It's just a really fun movie being like, here's a story of a band trying to make it big in the mid-90s. Have at it. We've got some decent comedy actors. We've got some dramatic actors who are trying their comedic chops. We'll see if it works, if it doesn't. And it solidified some people's careers and launched others. So is it bad in that sense? No. Is it good? I would say so. It's a hard recommend, though, today. So if you like Adam Sandler, I highly recommend watching it to see where he really got his beginning. If you like Brendan Fraser, solid performance. Steve Buscemi is great in everything. Give it a go. If you don't really care about any of those 3, just don't watch it.
Yeah, I don't know if I can agree with necessarily what you just said. Simply because I don't think you can divide the cast like that in any way. Like, this is such an ensemble cast, and maybe they weren't at the time, but I mean, there's so many good actors in this. You don't have to watch it just for Brendan Fraser or just for Adam Sandler or just watch it for all of them combined.
Yeah, but if you dislike any of those actors, you're gonna have a rough time. I don't like Adam Sandler. I found the character of Pip annoying, but he played it the way that character is supposed to be played, so I couldn't rip on him for that.
Yeah,
But
and
every time he's on screen, I'd rather see more Rex or Chaz.
I think the nice thing with such a deep cast, though, is that even if there is one that you don't like that much, you're not going to be on them for that long because you're going to move on to all of these others.
Yeah, but I'm talking when you're stuck with your main three, because there are three main characters. You can't say that Joe Mantegna is a main character.
I was just about to say, I think you could say there's 4.
No.
And
no
I
way.
was going to say, Joe, he is absolutely in the movie almost as much as any of them.
He is more along the lines of Peter Falk's character in Princess Bride. He keeps the story going. He's our narrator to like let us know what's happening morally throughout the film, setting us on like the right page, being like, yeah, there's a funny joke that happened, and then guide us through into the next part of the story. I don't see him as one of the main characters. He's just almost like one of the almost like a narrator for us.
I mean, it is a narrator that interacts with the cast, and absolutely what you said has validity to it, but I think it comes down to perception in this case, and some people might fall into my camp, they might fall into yours.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there's definitely no shortage of him in it, and unlike a narrator, much more involved in interacting with the actual plot and characters.
Okay, here, you want to make this movie better?
Okay.
Make Joe Mantegna, like Ian the Shark, the main character, and the whole movie is his reaction to this band trying to like get their demo played and take hostages.
I would totally watch that movie.
Exactly. The movie's so much better that way. Give him the lead role and the others who are incredibly competent, but it comes across a little bit muddled. But yeah, like you make Ian the main character, and then you have Rex and Chaz and Pip play second fiddle to him. The movie is unstoppable.
And you could totally do that. You could make the plot that he's unhappy with his job. Mm-hmm. He's going into work for what should be just another day. And at the end of the movie, these guys that try to kidnap him end up being the band that he's the manager for, and you have your main character's happy ending.
Exactly.
I would totally watch that movie.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Anyway, that was our thoughts on this movie. I don't think there's really much more we can say about it.
Not a whole lot, no.
So, we're heading into October now, my friend.
My favorite time of year.
I know it is. Which means that I feel like we're going to be heading into a period of thematic episodes.
Oh, definitely. Genre all the way.
All right, so Ben, what are you kickstarting October with for us next week?
Next week, we're talking 1981's Joe Dante classic, The Howling.
We've got to warn people. What do you see?
The Howling. Somewhere in this city, in this human jungle, it begins.
What do you see?
What's there, Karen?
What do you see, Karen?
What's there?
Somewhere in these woods, in this primal, sensuous, secret place, lies an experience too terrifying for words. And now, all anyone can do is watch and wait.
Tonight I'm going to show you something. Make you believe.
The Howling.
We've got to make him believe. We've got to make him believe.
All right. Until next week, have a good one, guys.
All the best, guys.